Shri Ganesha Sharada Gurubhyo Namaha Agajanana Padmarkam Gajananam Aharnisham Anekadam Tam Bhaktanam Ekadantam Upasmahe. Welcome to all for this session on Ganesha Purana for the chapter 22. In the previous chapters, we heard about the story of Bhima and his wife Charuhasini, who were not having children, and they went into the forest and met sage Vishwamitra. And sage Vishwamitra was telling the story of the sin committed by King Bhima, that he abandoned the worship of Gajanana, which came in their family tradition. It became their family tradition because of his forefathers. And 7 generations before King Bhima, there was a King Vallabha who was having wife Kamala as his queen. And the king and the queen were not having children for a long time. And after a long time, born their son. But he was blind, hunchback, having sore all over his body with the flowing blood. He was dumb, impure, so many disabilities. And then at that time, Queen was about to abandon the child, but the king stopped her, and both have tried every possible medication, every possible austerity measure, every possible worship, and all kind of holistic treatment to cure the child. But then nothing happened, and finally, after 12 years of continuous effort, the king was furious, and he abandoned his wife along with the child. So Kamala and their child and her child Daksha, they went from town to town begging people for the alms and for their livelihood. And on one day, miraculously, a breeze from the body of a great Brahmin devotee, when it touched the child, he was miraculously cured and had a celestial body. And they were surprised. But then a Brahmin helped them with a 6 syllable mantra in order to meditate on Ganesha. And on their meditation, Ganesha appeared before them. But before Daksha could ask for the boon, Ganesha told him that he will be taken care of, and he disappeared. And because Ganesha wanted Daksha to go in search of that same Brahmin who miraculously cured him, he was sage Mudgala. So Daksha then went in search of sage Mudgala, and on meeting him, he became his disciple. And sage Mudgala taught him the single syllable Ganesha mantra, and with that he got lots of blessings from Gajanana. But then the curiosity arises, why was Daksha was having such a terrible childhood? Why he was having so many birth defects? Let's see that now here in chapter 22, which is telling the tale of Ballala and Vinayaka. Now here at this particular point of time, the king Bhima, who was hearing this story from sage Vishwamitra, he asked, I am absolutely astonished at what has been narrated about the behavior of the child Daksha. It is truly marvelous, O excellent sage. He was blind, hunchbacked, of putrid smell, flowing with blood, dumb, impure, and virtually just a cough. How could he gain a celestial body from the breath coming from Mudgala's body? By what merit was this occurred? And from what evil has it arisen? He performed highest austerity for 1000 divine years. So why didn't Miss Mudgala has done austerity for 1000 divine years? Why he still did not achieve the vision of Gajanana? Why he could not able to satisfy the God? In what matter did the God of the gods, the supreme deity, became visible to Vallabha's son Daksha? Because he was having so many birth defects. What was his greatness? Whether he had any greatness from his previous life? And without afflictions in a previous life, how he could able to gain the vision of God so quickly, remove this doubt of mine that has just arisen, O omniscient sage. Obeisance to you, though constantly drinking the nectar of Gajanana's tales, I have still not had enough. Here there are many things to be discussed. First of all, it is Daksha who had so many birth defects. Why he has so many birth defects? What was the sin he committed in his previous life? Without that, how by birth itself he was having so many defects? And then on the other side, when he performed the penance with that single syllable Ganesha mantra, so quickly he could able to get the vision of Ganesha. So what blessings he was having it. That means there must be both the bad karmas as well as the good karmas. Because of bad karmas, he was having birth defects, and because of some good karma, he could able to gain the vision of Ganesha so quickly. But on the other side, Mudgala was a great devotee who performed austerities for 1,000 years, and still he could not able to get the vision of the God. So, what is the speciality? What is behind this? Generally, for everything that is happening in our life, good or the bad, we either associate it with some bad or good karma that we have done in the past, or maybe in our previous lives. If we don't remember anything that we had done it in the past. Now, sage Vishwamitra, who is telling this story, he continued, "You asked it well, king. I will duly tell you everything, and your doubt will be removed. Listen single mindedly with concentration, O king. In the country of Sindhu, there was a very famous city called Palli, where there was an excellent Vaishya named Kalyana. Munificent, prosperous, and wise, he was absolutely obedient to the gods and the Brahmins. His celebrated wife, who was known as Indumathi, had a beautiful face, and she was loyal to her husband. Her life was her husband, and she was obedient to her husband's words. In time, an excellent son who possessed the qualities was born of these two. Kalyana then bestowed with presents upon the priests, including gold. That means he offered gold, jewels, ornaments, clothes, and cows to the great Brahmins. And in accord with what was proclaimed by the astrologers, he gave his son the celebrated, auspicious sounding, and a powerful name of Ballala. A long time passed. On one occasion, Ballala ever he was always devoted to worship of the god. He joyfully left the village accompanied by his friends, and he led the young boys into the forest because that was his childhood game. They with the young of his with the group of his friends, he used to go to forest, or he used to go to some riverbed and used to perform worship of the god. And all the children occupied themselves playing various games, then bathed, set up a beautiful precious stone, and worshipped it with beautiful blossoms and shoots, intended that stone to be Ganesha. And some who were disposed to meditation undertook the recitation of Gajanana's name. As was their inclination, others danced out of devotion to the god, while some sang songs appropriate for the satisfaction of the god. These are different forms of worship. Dancing in devotion, or reciting his mantra, or singing songs in praise of the god are different forms of worshipping the god. Some enthusiastically erected a covering with branches and fresh young leaves. Others built a protective wall around it, and some an excellent hall. And there were those especially happy ones who, after offering incense and a lamb, food offerings and honorariums of betel nut and fruit, some by performing rituals in the mind, others by using such things as flowers and creepers, etc., duly worshipped him. When the children are worshipping the god, there is no set, perfect, proper rules or rituals that is supposed to be followed. The children can perform the worship in whatever way they want and with whatever things they get there in the forest. And others who were learned recited the Puranas that started telling the story of Ganesha. Then, while others expounded the Dharmashastras and some expounded other books, as though they are scholars, they started talking about the Shastras. They started talking about the various aspects, good aspects about Lord Ganesha. In this way, all of them spend their time for many days devoted to God. And all the children were in the forest. And because they were devoted to God, not one of them knew either the hunger or the thirst. One day, however, their father sought out Kalyana, the Vaishya, and all of them angrily said, who can bear when their children were not there for a couple of days and they were all lost in the forest somewhere? When they all went to the father of that child, Ballala, who is the Kalyana, if I went to that Vaishya and they angrily said to him, stop your son, Ballala. He calls together the young boys and goes into the forest every day, but they do not return to eat in the morning, nor at midday, nor in the evening. Consequently, our young boys have become weak because they were not having food in time. You must now give guidance to your own son. From now on, if he is not restrained, we will strike him, and then, after consulting the lord of the city, we will expel both of you, all of you, from our town. Because that was a punishment given that if they are not behaving properly, they'll be expelled from that particular town. On hearing their unprecedented words, because they in the past they never spoke so badly, so roughly against Kalyana. So the father of Ballala, Kalyana, the Vaishya, his eyes became like the japa flower because he was full of anger. The japa flower is red in color. So, because of anger, his eyes have become red like japa flower. After picking up a large club with which to strike his son, he left, and as soon as he reached the pavilion, he really smashed it. Smashed that small temple that they had built for Ganesha. He smashed it with one blow of the club. O king, all the young boys then fled everywhere. Only Ballala remained firm in rock solid devotion to Ganesha. Seizing him with his clenched fist, Kalyana thrashed him so severely with the club that streams of blood came forth from all over Ballala's body, just like the torrents of water coming from a mountain in the rainy season. Afterwards, he threw the god, that stone whom which they are worshipping as God, he threw it away, beautiful with its vermilion, to far off place, having completely lost his affection for his son, because the villagers, the townsmen, have abused him, saying that your son Ballala is spoiling all our kids. So he was full of anger. So he lost his affection for his son, and as if he were another messenger of Yama, as though he was going to kill his son, he tied the child tightly to a tree with palasha creepers, and he could be freed neither by teeth nor hands or feet, so that the Ballala cannot free himself by any means. So he tied Ballala tightly with the help of a creeper to the tree. Later on, he said to his son, let the God free you. It will be up to him to give you the food, drink, and protection. And if ever you return to home, I will truly, you will, then I'll truly going to kill you. As of now, I just leave it to you in this forest, tied to the tree, and let your God come and free you. Saying so, Kalyana left his child in the forest and went back to his home. The sage Vishwamitra continued the story. When he had smashed the god's temple, the enraged Vaishya Kalyana left immediately for his own home. And by binding his own son to a tree in the forest, he became quite evil due to the forces of fate. After he had gone, the Vaishya's son, that's Ballala, he grieved, and in the mind he wondered, how did the god get this name Vignahari? Because Vignahari means he will stop all the obstacles, which is chanted by all the people. But now the obstacle came in the form of his own father. But God did not stop him. Since you do not destroy obstacles and evils, how is it that you are celebrated as being the destroyer of all evils? Just as Shesha does not abandon the earth, nor the Savitra, the light. That means, like Shesha was always carrying the earth on his head, as the belief goes, and the sun god always gives the light to us. They never abandon their duty. How can you abandon me? How can you don't stop my father who had smashed you, who had thrown the stone away, or thrown the stone which they were worshipping as God away? Nor the moon ambrosia, nor the fire the heat. They always give this. So one should not abandon one's own devotees. But you have abandoned me. If you had abandoned them, how could you be so famous in the Vedas and Shastras? Lamenting in this way, he cursed his own very evil father Kalyana. This unsurpassed temple of mine has been ruined by my father, and he has thrown away Ganesha image and struck me. If my absolutely rock solid devotion towards Viradanana, the one God having two mouth, is unsurpassed, he will certainly become blind. That means he is cursing his own father to become blind, deaf, hunchbacked, and mute. What I said then is the truth. Everything I have declared will happen to him. He whose mind is on devotion cannot lie, cannot be in bondage because he is now tied to tree. Even though he might be bound in a body, the person is always bound within their body. The person is the Atman. He is bound within the body. But a devotee of Ganesha, how can he be bound to a tree? Because God, Ganesha, must come and protect him. Reflecting on God with undivided attention, I am going to abandon my body in this peopleless forest. Since I have not attempted escape, this body can be offered to God. So the child, Ballala, has decided to give up his body because the god Ganesha is not coming for his rescue. Having understood this and his intentions, Gajanana appeared in the form of a Brahmin because of Ballala's request. And just as the splendid sun on the eastern mountains brings an end to the night's darkness in the early morning, so were his bonds, who was Ballala was tied to the tree. All his bonds were loosened by his fiery energy. Bowed straight, he then made homage to him, and his body became beautiful because he was already beaten up by his father, and streams of blood was coming. But by the very sight of Gajanana, all his wounds are treated, and he got a celestial body, having neither the blood nor the wound. Appearance of the God of gods caused his knowledge to become pure, and he eulogized Gajanana with various words as seemed fit. Ballala went on praising Gajanana. You alone are the mother, the father, and the kinsman. You alone are the creator of the moving and unmoving. You create evil, mischievous, and good people, and you assign birth in a womb and not in a particular womb. Means in which womb we need to get birth, that is assigned by the Lord Gajanana. You alone have the forum of the extent of the whole world, the atmosphere, the earth, the ocean, the high mountain, time, and the wind. You, all those are your own forms. You have the forum of the sun, the moon, the stars, the planets, the world protectors, the classes, the objects of the senses, herbs, and the elements. So Ballala went on praising Gajanana, saying that everything that we see is all are the forms of Gajanana. After he heard that eulogy, Gajanana became very pleased, and having embraced him, his own devotee, he spoke in a refined voice. The God, the Supreme Deity, said, "The person who smashed my temple will fall into hell, and with my assent, your curse against him, whatever you have cursed, will take effect. When my curse has taken effect, there can be no doubt that he will become blind, deaf, mute, and hunchback, discharging fluid from all the wounds in his body. His father will banish him, and his mother banish. Uh, that's in his next birth. His father will banish him along with his mother from the home. Request now another boon for yourself, and I will grant you something that is difficult to get." Ballala said to the god, "Let my devotion to you be rock solid, and while staying always in this sacred place, you must protect people from obstacles. Whoever comes and preach you in this sacred place, you should protect them from all obstacles." Then Ganesha said, "Hereafter my name will always be preceded by your name and will be auspicious to the people. It will be this place will be known in this city. The God will be known as, the idol will be known as Ballala Vinayaka. Your heart will stay firm on me and your devotion unswerving. And I will grant the wishes of those who will perform my festival in the bright half of the month of Bhadra in the town called Palli. Even today, this particular temple is located in Maharashtra as one of the Asta Vinayaka Kshetras. Asta Vinayaka are the 8 different Vinayaka Gajanana temple. Maharashtra is a state known for Ganapatya sect of people who preach, worship Ganesha as the supreme deity. This whole Ganesha Purana was created by the people of Ganapatya sect. There is an Asta Vinayaka Kshetra, and one of the Vinayaka Kshetra, we discussed about it in our previous chapter, called as Siddha Kshetra, today known as Siddhatek, where the god is known as Siddhi Vinayaka. Now, this is the second one such among the 8 different Vinayakas, and all these Vinayakas are self manifested. The same stone which the Ballala has worshipped, in that has taken the shape of Vinayaka, and it is today known as Ballala Vinayaka Kshetra. You can visit the temple. The sage said, "After giving these boons, the god disappeared from there. Then, after Ballala had erected an image of Vinayaka in conjunction with the Brahmins, he erected a temple of many lustrous colors. This small tale called Ballala and Vinayaka has now been recited. After hearing it, one obtains one's desire and is freed from all kind of evils." How is it that by hearing a story one can be freed from all the evils? That it's because of the nectar of the story. If you look at the crux of the story, he is a small child, Ballala, who was having an undivided attention towards the god. His rock solid devotion. He just put a stone there, considering that stone as Vinayaka. He was worshipping it. Though his own son came and punished him, it is the god who came and protected him and taken care of it. We all visit this world as individuals. Incidentally, we take birth in the womb of a woman whom we call as mother. and her husband happens to become our father, and both father and mother take care of us. But in reality, we all visit this world as individuals and we leave this world as individuals. Now, in between us, of course, visibly, it is the parents who take care of it. But the one who really takes care of us through the same parents and through even in their presence or in the absence, the only one who take care of us is the God. And the visual manifestation, the visual testimony for that is this particular story. So keep hearing to this story will give us an assurance that the God will be there with us always in our good and bad times, and He will going to take care of us. Thus ends the 22nd chapter of Upasana Khanda of the glorious Ganesha Purana, and the chapter is called Ballala Vinayaka's story. Namaste Sharada Devi Kashmira Puravasini Twamaham Prarthaye Nityam Vidya Danancha Dehime. Goodbye.